Why the women who love Sheikh Hamdan always end up alone. Look at the women in his story. Really look at them. Not as characters in a royal drama, not as supporting roles in the life of the Crown Prince of Dubai, as real women, women who felt something genuine, women who gave real parts of themselves to a connection they believed in, women who, one by one, at different points in the same ongoing story, found themselves in the same place at the end of their chapter, alone, not because they were not enough, not because the love was not real, but because there is something about loving Sheikh Hamdan that the women who do it almost never fully understand until it is too late. Something structural, something built into the very nature of who he is and what he carries and what the world requires of him. And once you see it, once you understand why every woman who has loved him has ended up alone, you cannot unsee it. She was first, the one who loved him before any of it became complicated. Before the arranged marriages and the political decisions and the palace machinery that has shaped so much of his adult life. She came into his story when things were simpler, or at least when they felt simpler, before the weight of the crown had fully settled onto everything around him. She loved the poet, the man underneath the title, the one who wrote things at night that he would not say in daylight. And she believed, the way people believe at the beginning of something real, that what they had was strong enough to survive whatever the world threw at it. It was not. The world threw his father's plan at it, threw an arranged marriage at it, threw the entire machinery of a royal family protecting its future at it, and she ended up alone. Not because she stopped loving him, but because the system that surrounds him has no room for love that was not part of the original design. Then there was the woman who waited 7 years. That is not a small thing. 7 years is a life. It is the length of time in which ordinary people build careers, move cities, make children, become different versions of themselves. She spent it waiting for a door to open, believing that what she and Hamdan had was real enough to outlast the circumstances that kept it from becoming official. And when the arranged marriage finally collapsed, and the door she had been waiting in front of showed signs of opening, it did not open for her. It opened for someone else. She ended up alone too, not because she had loved wrongly, but because loving Sheikh Hamdan and being chosen by Sheikh Hamdan are two different things. And the choosing in his world is never entirely his to do. Then there was Sheikha, his wife, the woman chosen not by his heart, but by his father's vision for the future. She walked into a marriage that looked, from the outside, like everything a woman in her position could have wanted. And she ended up alone in the most particular and painful way. Alone, inside the marriage. Present, official, with all the title and the position and the outward acknowledgement that comes with being the wife of the crown prince, and still alone. Because the man she married had never fully arrived. His heart was somewhere else from the beginning. And discovering that the absence she had been feeling was not imagined, that it had a name and a face and a history that predated everything she had been told, left her in a loneliness that no palace and no title could fill. She ended up alone too. And then the one he chose, who, the one he went back to after everything else fell apart, the one he married privately, the one who became the mother of his children. If any woman in this story was supposed to get a different ending, it was her. She was the one he fought for, the one he chose against the original plan, the one for whom the promise was made that this time things would be different. And she ended up alone anyway, not because the love failed, not because the connection between them was not real, but because the world that surrounds Hamdan eventually reached even into the most private corner of his life and rearranged it according to needs that had nothing to do with what either of them wanted. She left with the children quietly. The way women leave things in these stories, without drama, without public acknowledgement, without the world ever fully knowing what she gave or what it cost her to give it. The pattern is not an accident. That is what people who look at this story from the outside miss. They see individual chapters and individual women and individual moments of loss, and they think bad luck, wrong timing, difficult circumstances. But it is not luck. It is not timing. It is the fundamental reality of what it means to love a man who is not fully his own person, who belongs, in the deepest and most binding sense, to a title, to a family, to a city, and a legacy and a future that was decided before he was old enough to have any say in it. The women who love Sheikh Hamdan end up alone because you cannot fully have someone who is not fully free. And Hamdan has never been fully free, not for a single day of his adult life. There is something he carries in his eyes that every woman who has ever loved him probably recognizes. A quality of being present and unreachable at the same time, of being genuinely there in the room, in the conversation, in the feeling, and simultaneously somewhere else that nobody else is allowed to go. That quality is not performance. It is not distance or coldness or emotional unavailability in the ordinary sense. It is the specific quality of a man who has learned to love people from inside a life that does not make space for love the way love actually needs space. He gives what he can. He feels what he feels. But the structure around him has always taken back more than it has allowed him to give. The women in his story are not victims. That word does not do justice to who they are. They are real people who made real choices and felt real things and paid real prices for the specific experience of loving someone who could not fully be loved the way they deserve to love him. They are braver than most people know, more dignified in their losses than the world will probably ever acknowledge. And they are alone in ways that are not visible from the outside. Not the obvious alone of someone with no one around them, but the specific alone of people who gave something important to a place that could not hold it. He is still writing poems. The world is still reading them. And somewhere in different cities, in different quiet lives, the women who loved him are reading them too, recognizing things in the words that nobody else would recognize the same way, knowing without needing it explained exactly which feeling is being described and exactly what it came from, because they were there, they were part of it, and they ended up alone. That is the true cost of loving Sheikh Hamdan, not the beginning. The beginning is always beautiful. It is the ending that tells the truth. And the ending for every woman who has loved him has subscribes looked the same. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Every week I bring you deeper into the real story of Sheikh Hamdan and the women whose love shaped him. The truth behind the poetry, the cost behind the crown,